Okay, I want to continue on with these terms here. So far we've talked about literary artifact, aesthetic artifact, level 1 critique, level 2 critique. Level 1 critique being simply a critique or a review essay. Level 2 critique being an analysis, an aesthetic analysis essay, or a literary response essay. We've also talked about that. Since talking about that, we talked about summary, interpretation, evaluation. Okay, I want to go back to the level 1 critique idea. And for a writing class and English classes and that sort of thing, usually if you're doing this with like an article or a book or a video or a documentary, and you realize, hey, look, it's just what you see is what you get. It has one level of meaning. The guy's trying to make a point. The gal's she's making a case for her thesis. You get the definitions, you get the logic, you get the reasoning, you get the support in terms of testimony or statistics or whatever. And at the end, you're either convinced or you're not. So that is actually a genre of writing, and I'm going to call it the persuasive nonfiction text. The persuasive nonfiction text. Okay. In a persuasive nonfiction text, obviously, since it's not fiction, you're dealing with facts and verity and truth statements. And it's persuasive as you're trying to make a point. You're trying to get someone to see your point. So for a persuasive nonfiction text, you almost always have 3 levels of material, of claims. Now, a claim is just any statement that is not a question or a command, and that can be it can be true or false. It's very, very often, okay, very often it's just a declarative sentence that can either be true or false. Now, I don't want to go into the if-then statement. That's a hypothetical statement. That is a type of claim, but the way we can work things now is just if these things are declarative sentences that have a subject and a predicate, and they're making a statement, they're giving you a fact about something or making a point, it's a claim, okay? And for all claims, they can be either true or false. You might not know what they are right now, but you know in theory that it's either true or false, okay? So for a persuasive nonfiction text, you almost always get 3 levels of claims. Okay, the first level of claim is the data level, or the detail level. So I'll just call that the data and detail level. Okay, and the data and detail level is just a lot of the nitpicky facts and factoids and information like statistics and definitions and quotations, or not necessarily quotations, but just a lot of detail. For example, in one of the things I'm reading with my students, Farewell My Mailbox, the author talks about how when he wrote it in, I think, 2011, places like San Antonio and Denver and Louisville, and they're losing the blue mailboxes are disappearing, and the fellow has numbers like, okay, I forget of San Antonio's 600,000 blue mailboxes, 200,000 have disappeared or something like that. I mean, he actually gives you figures. He also at another point says the USPS, the United States Postal Service, is having to close down post offices across the United States. They've already closed down 3,700. Now, how come he didn't say 3,800? How come he just didn't say 4,000? How come he just didn't say 1,000? Because he himself is pulling from another document that has this information, and it's pretty specific. So that sort of specific material, okay, is a certain level of information. Now, when you write a summary, you have to drop out the majority of that, because you just can't include all the specific details. If you do, then you end up just rewriting the essay. So that disappears. A lot of the specifics should drop out of your summary. But that would be the data and detail level. Now, from the data and detail, points are being supported. So one of the points this fellow was making in his article was that the United States Postal Office is in financial trouble. And he's making the case by saying you can see it by the way they're trimming their resources and cutting jobs. So he had all the detail about how they're trimming their resources and cutting jobs, and he's saying these details should make you believe they support the notion that the United States Post Office is in financial trouble. Now, this was a more general claim. This was not like San Antonio lost 200,057 blue mailboxes in 2009. It's not like that. It's a general claim, but you can see it's one of the points of his writing. Now, he had other points. He had like 5 points in this thing. General claims that the specific details of those paragraphs around those claims they were supporting. Another one of his points is that technology has caused the way we communicate to change. That was just another point there in the essay. So there's at least 2 points running around, and there were 3 or 4 others. So you realize that you have a level of points. And these claims are going to be more general, and they're going to be directly supported by the data and the details that are given to you in the essay. Now, it's not always the case, but it is a writing technique for writers to use very often the beginning of a paragraph to put the point, and then use the rest of the paragraph to support that point. And you may have seen this sort of organization. And well, yeah, so you have the points level. You have the data and detail level, then you have the points level. But you see, those points are working together, whether they're 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 points. They're working together to hold up one thing, okay? It's like this. Maybe 5 points. The 5 fingers of my hands are 5. And they're holding, all of them are holding up the one thing, all right? And that would be the thesis. So there's the very top level, if you want to think of it that way, of claims is the thesis level. It's the largest, it's that one big message. It's the overall, point, the major point. It's the overall message, the overarching point, the conclusion. Now, I will always use the word conclusion to mean thesis. I'll never use it to mean the ending, the physical ending of an essay. Okay, when I say conclusion, I mean thesis, like how you would conclude the conclusion of a syllogism. It's the conclusion, it's the thesis. Now, it should be one point. That would really establish the unity of the writing. And all of the writing from the other points that are not as major as this one, that are not as big as this one, but points nonetheless, coming from the detail under here, being supported themselves by all the details and data. So you do have 3 levels of claim in a persuasive nonfiction text. Think of a table too, Think of the floor of a room as being all the data and detail. You realize everything is resting on that, but from the floor rests 4 legs, 4 wooden legs, okay? Those are like the points that arise, the general points that arise that you can make from the data. And from those 4 legs, you have the tabletop, the thesis that is resting on that. So those are the 3 major levels of a persuasive nonfiction text. Okay. Now you will need to also know what a 2-tiered title is. Okay, but you should be able to get that through another video. All right, I have another video on 2 tiers titles. I also have videos on popular text and academic text. Okay, so a popular text, I'll quickly go over this, but a popular text is something that is written to the general populace at large. So it's popular in the sense that it's written to a very wide audience. We're not using the word popular to mean that it is well liked. It's just that it has general language, it's easily accessible, it doesn't dip down to a professional or technical level, it deals with its claims and its points on a very conversational tone. So it's got a general audience. It often uses a conversational tone. It will feel like you're having a very, decently structured conversation with somebody. The diction level, in other words, the word choice isn't going to be outstanding. They're not going to use words people don't understand. Now, the way they use their data is going to be very informal. They will present data to you, but it's going to be almost like you're being given this data in a conversation. So think of how many times you talk with someone and the person actually gives you a fact, something like, 70% of people like to work out alone. And you're like, okay. And do you ever stop the conversation right then and say, well, where are you getting your facts? How do I know that's a reliable source? How did you know it was a reliable source? Actually, I did see this. I saw it on the TV. I was waiting in line to get my driver's license renewed, and I just saw it on the TV there. I don't even know how they came up with it, right? But so now I'm telling you. We don't stop people while we're talking with them and say, wait a minute, give me your source list, please. If not, I don't want to continue this conversation. No, that's foolish. So popular sources will use data, but they won't give you a works cited page and all that sort of thing. It's a type of writing. It's a professional type of writing. You do this well, you get paid quite a bit for freelancing, selling your magazine articles. Think of, say, Farewell My Mailbox or Being Green at Ben & Jerry, you got data there, you got specific, but you never got a source list. You never got, bibliographic references and all that sort of thing. Even though, the author might say, Nancy Jones from this place, this city said this about the mailboxes. Okay, so you're getting names and quotes and all that, but again, you don't get the documentation. So that would mark popular writing, and popular writing is not necessarily, to like settle the issue right now in a very rigorous way. It's more like to present somebody's idea in an informal way that is designed, well, of course, to persuade you, but more than that, or at least equal to that, to get you to think about the topic and to educate you a little bit, give you the terms. That's popular writing. Okay, now you need to make the distinction between that and academic writing. And because we have a limited time in the college classroom, we really stress academic writing a whole lot more because we sense this is what you're going to be doing more in other classes. Now, if you were a journalism major, you would be studying popular writing techniques. But just for general skills, for someone who might not major in writing, it's better to know academic writing because that's what you're going to be doing more in college. And in academic writing, we expect a couple things. We expect, okay, now professionally, this holds true also. We expect you to be much more able to disclose your source work. So we want those parenthetical citations, we want those footnotes or endnotes, we want the works cited or the reference list. We want to know where your sources are coming from. So you need to be able to give us that full source information about your documents. That is important. We also want you to be very much concerned about being involved in a professional conversation. So you come to a topic, you're reading a topic, you're researching a topic. Well, we want to know what have others said about this. Other professionals that are looking at your own topic, or a part of your topic, or a branch of your topic, So, not only do we need citation, we need to sense in your own writing that you're aware of the presence of an ongoing conversation that's already happening about your topic, and that you are willing to refer to that conversation. We also want to see, especially in academic writing, that you have a contribution to that conversation. So there's where the elements of original thinking comes in. What is your point that you're going to make in this conversation? So we need to see a contribution being made. Now, as far as other signs, the diction level of academic writing is going to be much higher than popular writing. And the amount of work you're going to have to do as a reader, because the authors don't feel any qualms about asking you to do mental aerobics, acrobatics, mental gymnastics to follow them. You're going to have to think about their points. It's much more demanding because it's much more rigorous. All right. So that is also present in academic writing. All right. Now, the last thing that, well, I don't want to say the last, but another thing that people want to ensure themselves of is that other, quote unquote experts have examined the writing and have kind of agreed with its methodology, at least. So academic writing is also often touted as having been peer reviewed. In other words, before it reaches publication, it is examined by other, professionals of the field to make sure that it's, at least in its methodology, it's being worked as an argument should be worked. Now, I'll talk, now that we're on a subject, I'll just talk about this a little bit, but the whole point about peer review is not a universal concept, universally accepted concept. Because as an editor, one may think, well, I need a reading panel, I need this to get peer reviewed. Yes, sure. But what if you would also like to publish groundbreaking, or let's change the analogy, box breaking work? Because, you know, people like to work in a box, think in a box. But and the whole point about peer review might be misunderstood to be, well, is this, you know, do I agree with what the author is saying? And so yes or no. And if you have these readers checking the work before it gets published, and the readers are sensing, whoa, I don't agree with this, this is not how I think about this, they're going to put an X on it and say don't publish it. So, but what if they're saying I don't agree with this because they're stuck in a conventional wisdom rut, and they're not able to think creatively and to recognize the genius of, I put that in quotations, or just recognize the signs of a truly innovative work. A truly innovative work is going to break away from the box it's in. It's not going to conform. So if you have peer review and the reviewers are trying to see if it conforms with the standards that are already set for that discipline, you might not get any groundbreaking work as an editor. So, you know, editors always reserve the right to forego peer review, even though they'll still call it peer reviewed. But I digress. Academic writing will have that feel to it. It'll feel very professional. The diction and the syntax will be very elevated, very much elevated. Source citation will be present in the work, and at the end they're going to give you all their sources. They're going to be concerned about being linked with the published, an already existing conversation. They're going to try to make a contribution to that a conversation, an original contribution to that conversation. All right. So that's academic writing as opposed to popular writing. Academic writing feels much more like you're being taught something by a professor. Now I want you to think, though, that academic sources, then, the issue is not where is it coming from. Like, is it a book or a journal? No. That's a very simplistic way to look at it. Okay, so if someone says, I need like 5 academic sources in your research work, you should not then ask, well, how many books or journals? Are you talking about books and journals? You want that in there? No, because there are plenty of popular books, there are plenty of popular journals, popular magazines. It has nothing to do with the physical format. There are plenty of blogs that are academic writing, okay? Vlogs or video logs. Documentaries could be academic writing. So, or an academic text. It doesn't have much to do at all with whether it's a book or a journal article or like a bound material. Well, anyway, that's popular writing and academic writing. Check out the other video. I do have separate videos on these because it's an important concept, and you should know that, you know, very rarely is one item like a text just like clearly one thing or the other. It falls along a range. It's a spectrum. Like on one end is, you know, popular writing, on the other end is academic writing, and you have all this space in between, and something might be more like right here or more right here, and like a Reader's Digest would be much more towards popular writing. But what about Smithsonian, which actually does, or National Geographic? They are more interested in citing their sources. What about Wikipedia? Have you ever looked at a Wikipedia article? Look at how they give you the sources at the end. That's more academic than popular. It's a shame that people who misunderstand this concept are in a gut and a knee-jerk reaction to digital publications. Seem to think Wikipedia, you know, something an inferior source. That's not the case at all. It's a superficial way to approach this important concept. All right, I'm going to stop this. We'll do one more video. Thank you again for watching. I hope this is profitable to you.